fortunately for me, I'm a quick learner because this is something I never thought I'd be doing, but I've been doing it for about 7 months now. And that is living in a tiny space with large dogs. So, recapping for those of you who don't know, I am waiting for my house to be finished being built. Every time I come on here, I say a couple more weeks, then something happens, and it turns out to be a couple more weeks after that. Long story short, I've been living in a 42-foot fifth wheel RV with three large German Shepherds. When I first moved in here, we had Lil. She was a smaller dog, not a German Shepherd, but she was with us as well. So there are definite no-nos and things that can make it go a whole lot easier for you if you are in this situation. So the first few months was definitely a learning curve for me, especially because I've never even had an RV before, let alone lived in one full time with larger dogs. So let's just get right down to it. Most important things, let's prioritize here: safety, comfort, sanitation, and just ease for the senior dogs as well as for me too. It is very, very important, especially when you're living in a close, tight, tiny environment with large dogs, to keep things clean. It's a priority. Smells creep up very, very fast, especially when you have a senior dog like Sashi, who's 100% incontinent, and cleaning is imperative. It is not optional. A lot of cleaning, a lot of disinfecting, a lot of deodorizing, a lot of vacuuming, a lot of mopping, a whole lot of baths, a lot of wash. I spend a lot of time these days at a laundromat in town because I don't have a washer and dryer just yet, although they were delivered 2 days ago. So hopefully they'll be hooked up shortly in my new house at the laundromat cleaning. So all the beds that I have, I always have blankets on top of them for the dogs. And then I also have reusable pee pads on top of them for whichever bed Sashi decides to lay on. So I have a lot of pee pads that I have to clean. I have a lot of blankets that get cleaned regularly, the reusable diapers, the reusable pads that go in the diapers, the towels that I use to clean her multiple times a day. There's a lot of wash that needs to be done. And like I said, if you don't, it just creeps up. And then the next thing you know, you're opening the door to your tiny space and the smell is just, punching you in the face. So cleaning is imperative. It is non-negotiable. Again, even like at the end of the day, just wiping surfaces down with even just a wet rag, to because dirt comes in on the dogs from being outside, and it filters throughout the air quickly. So even just wiping everything down, maybe even with like a Swiffer or something like that at the end of the day. Vacuuming happens daily. Sometimes I'm even vacuuming twice a day, depending on if it was muddy outside. And then I clean them off to the best of my ability. And we come in, and sometimes they have dirt on their underbellies and it dries off. And then the next thing you know, it's like in the air and in the rugs and all kinds of stuff. So when you're in a small space, cleaning is much more important and in your face than if you live with larger dogs in a larger space, right? Because you're all confined and kind of smashed in there. It is the next thing that I would mention is having space for them outside that is enclosed. So even though I live on a 17-acre farm now, I can't just open the door to the RV and let them run amok when I'm not out there. First thing in the morning and last thing at night, and sometimes when I'm working during the day and I can't take them for a walk, but it's a nice day and they want to be outside, they need a confined area. I don't have anything big right outside my door. It's small and it's fenced in with 5-foot welded wire field fence with T-posts that I put in myself, and I have AstroTurf. I put down AstroTurf in the small fenced in area for them so they're not laying in mud and dirt. It's a clean area for them to lay in. I also have a section toward the back of the fenced in area that is not, it doesn't have AstroTurf they can go back there and eliminate. Having a fenced in area right outside your door, if you can, to give them space. You kind of kick them out while you're running the vacuum in your tiny little space, shaking out their beds, collecting their blankets and whatnot. I mean, it's really hard to do when they're inside with you. So if you can kind of kick them out in a fenced in area for, whatever it is, the 20, 30 minutes while you're tidying up, gives them some space, gives them some fresh air, and gives you the ability to move around and do whatever it is that you have to do in a quicker fashion than if you had them inside in the tiny space with you and you're just tripping all over them. Another thing that I would encourage you to do if you're living with dogs in a small or tight location is to be organized as possible. And organization, it's sometimes it's hard for me depending on what it is. I'll just shove stuff in a cabinet, and then other things I'm meticulous about how organized I am. I really had to struggle with the just shoving things in a cabinet here because it's hard. First of all, oddly enough, this RV has a lot of cabinet space, surprisingly enough. I don't know who designed this RV. It's not a new one. It's an older RV. It's a beast. I can tell you that. It's well built. And there's a lot of well thought out cabinet space here. That being said, with the dogs and even the cats that I have with me, cabinet space can be limited based on what it is that I'm packing in there. Because even though there's a lot of cabinet space, it's tight. It's still kind of tight. It's shallow. Like a lot of the cabinets are shallow. So I can't really, stick like big comforters in there. So as far as their beds go, I have thin little throw blankets on them or even sheets, just because I have more room in cabinets for that than I do like nice, plush comforters that they like to lay on. So what I do is we have orthopedic dog beds here, the Big Barker orthopedic dog beds here, and I brought them inside, two of them inside. So they have the nice beds to lay on, but just thinner blankets to lay on. So they definitely have the support, just not like the plushy, comforters like they like. So being organized it's very, very important when you're living in a small space. Every choice you make has to make sense. And if it doesn't, it doesn't belong in your tiny space. So, and what I mean by that is, let me just give you a for instance. So the house that I sold was, it was almost a 3,000 square feet or something like that, 2,500, I forget, but it was large. And the closets just went on for days in that house. And I could buy things for the dogs, like fun little things to put on their collars or, pretty little sweaters or whatever. And yeah, things that they really didn't need and I could put away and pull out when I wanted them. But here, everything has to be well thought out and it has to serve a purpose or else it doesn't fit in this tiny space. So, next, you have to prioritize daily outside enrichment for your large dogs, whether they're older or not, when you're living in a tiny space, especially if they're younger. Like I have Sasha here. She's my personal German Shepherd, and she is 2 years old, 2.5 years old. And I mean, she would go bonkers if we were inside here all the time. Like if I just let her out for a potty break and came right back in, that would never fly. She would be destroying things in here. Sasha could be outside morning, noon, and night, running around, chasing her ball, chasing her frisbee, chasing whatever it is that she wants to. She is constantly in motion. She is the quintessential German Shepherd, being a herding dog. That's really what they are, because she wants to just herd whatever she can. She has incredible drive and focus, and she's relentless, to be honest with you. She's relentless. So she's outside with me a majority of the time. And I try to be outside as much as possible because I don't like being inside, especially in tiny spaces. So even on a nice day, I have a nice wrought iron patio furniture set right outside my door here that's under the canopy for the RV. And even on nice days, I go outside to do my work, which is basically computer work. And they'll all the dogs are outside with me. They'll lay in the grass, they'll lay under the canopy. Sometimes I open the van door and they'll just lay inside the van door. They'll get up, they'll walk around, they'll do what they want, and then they come right back. They're always within eyesight. We take lots of walks, constantly walking, constantly doing stuff around the farm, and they're all right there with me. So prioritizing outdoor time is imperative when you are living in a small space with large dogs, because if you don't, they can become destructive, they can become anxious, they can become bored, they can become depressed, and it's not good. It's just not good for their mental well-being. So getting them outside, even if it's for short, frequent walks, maybe 10, 15 minutes, 4 or 5 times a day. I mean, I know that sounds a lot for some people. And believe me, there are times, especially when it's like minus something here in the wintertime and it's snowed for the bajillionth time that week, that I do not want to get all bundled up and go outside. And I still do. I still do. And you know what? I find it's good for me as much as it is for them, because then I appreciate coming back inside to our tiny little living space where it's warm, comfortable, and dry. So get them outside. If you don't feel like walking them 4 or 5 times a day, or maybe you just don't have the ability to walk them 4 or 5 times a day, take them out front, let them sniff about, take them for a car ride, get them a puppuccino, take them to Tractor Supply, let them walk around inside on a leash, or Home Depot. Lots of places are doing that now. Just get them outside and out of the tiny living space to help them, you know, feel a little bit better about their situation. Yeah. And the last one is intentional design in your tiny living space. So here's a little funny story. I started building my new house. And really, when I say build, it was really a small barn that I was converting into a house and adding an addition onto. This was not supposed to take as long as it has. I started in October. The gist of it was supposed to be done by December. And then the contractor said by January. And I knew just by looking at what was happening, there was no way he was going to be done. So when he moved the goalpost for the move the second time, I came inside my RV. So if you know RVs, I'm sitting at the kitchen area right now. It's a table and this bench seat that I'm sitting on. And then across from me was another bench seat. And then my sofa is right behind that. So as soon as he told me I wasn't going to be in my house when he said I was going to be, I came in and I literally dismantled the bench seat in between the table and my sofa and took it out so that I could bring in another big Barker dog bed, because at the time I only had one in here, and I had 4 dogs at that time and they were all kind of fighting over the same bed. The big Barker dog bed that I have in now, literally 2 German Shepherds could lay on it, and Sashi and Honey lay on it together often. So you have to be intentional about the layout of where you're going to be. I have a huge master closet in my master bedroom. There's 2 bedrooms in this RV and they're actually good sizes. And my master closet could have been used for a washer and dryer. And I opted not to do that because I needed that floor space for dogs to lay in there. So I have beds up in there too. And 2 German Shepherds can fit comfortably in there. They're sliding doors. I never shut the doors. The doors are wide open. It's literally like their own little room inside of my bedroom. So the back bedroom here, it has 4 bunk beds in it. That's really the cat's room. I mean, the cats go through all out the RV here, but it's basically their room. The top bunks are their room. Sasha will lay in one of the bottom bunks. I have another dog bed in that room. I have a cat tree in that room. Everything is thought out to the best of my ability to not just ensure my comfort and sanity, but theirs as well. So being intentional about your layout is imperative if you're going to live in a small space because you're already, crammed. You're already crammed in there. So keeping the flow, keeping intentional walkways is important. You don't want to have something everywhere because then how do you walk back and forth? So I was very intentional on having a very definitive walkway, not just for me, but for the dogs. When Lil was still with us, unfortunately, she would fall down a lot. She got to the point that that's what was happening. She was falling down. And I mean, really falling down quite a bit. So obviously, I don't want to have big things in the way because even in a clear space, it was hard for her to maneuver because she had just gotten pretty delirious at the end of her life and really couldn't even hold herself up. So making sure there's a clear definitive path, making sure there's clear definitive places for them to sleep. Their water bowl is in a clear definitive spot that's not like in the main throughway are imperative and help keep you and them as comfortable as possible. So they're just some of the things that I picked up here while living in this tiny space. Now, when I finally do get into my house, which is very shortly here, basically the holdup now was I was waiting for my flooring to arrive, and surprise, surprise, I had placed this order for appliances and all kinds of stuff were inside the house, and the flooring was the last thing to arrive. So I had really wanted it to be the first, and lo and behold, it was dead last. So it arrived. It arrived yesterday, and this weekend I can finally start. I shouldn't say I, because I do have help, can finally start getting in there and getting the flooring in. And I've said once my flooring goes in and my toilet goes in, I'm moving in. I have heat in there. I have air conditioning. I have plumbing. I have electric. I'm going to be moving in. I have furniture in my barn that I bought President's Day weekend on sale that I haven't even seen yet because it's still in boxes. So once that floor goes in, I can work with everything else while I'm in there and still utilize the RV if I have to. But I can't wait to get in there. 1,000 square feet is going to seem like the Taj Mahal after being in this RV. So I hope you got some information out of this today. Living in a small space, it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing. I actually prefer it. It's cozy, it's quaint, it's easy to take care of. And yeah, you can all live a happy life in a small space as long as you keep things in perspective and definitely have a plan in place. All right, folks, until next time, be well.